What's up, students? It's your boy PGT, and welcome back to my Bear's Head Grow series. Today, I'll be showing you how I spawn on my Bear's Head grain spawn to some fruiting blocks, as well as go over the process of fruiting these guys. If you guys missed part 1 of the series, I recommend you go check it out on my channel prior to watching this one. I cover details there on cloning the wild mushrooms, as well as cleaning up the culture from contamination and spawning the grains in that video. Alright, so we left off with the grain jars to colonize. And once your grains are fully colonized, now you will want to spawn them out to substrate. So I'm using a sterilized wood-based substrate mixture here. It's just hardwood pellets and wheat bran hydrated to fuel capacity. If you want to know how to make them, you can check out my simple sawdust substrate video on the channel. I have links down to below. Alright, so typically I like to create the substrate about a day before spawning, and I let it cool down overnight. And then I'll open up the pressure cooker and I'll pull them out when I'm ready to inoculate my grain spawn. So I'm breaking apart the substrate because it was compacted from being sterilized. This will make it a lot easier to mix the grain spawn into them. So in the last video I was running an experiment with the grain jars to see which would colonize the fastest. And to my surprise, the birdseed colonized the fastest, and then the millet, and then what finished last was the oats a few days later. Alright, so here's the birdseed jar. See, this one was so quick that it started pinning on top already, waiting for the other ones to catch up. Alright, with my grain spawn, I'm going to use 1 quart jar's worth of grain spawn into each 5-pound substrate bag. I've got 3 jars going, so I'm going to produce out 3 fruiting blocks here. So I'm using a clean spoon that's been wiped down with isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to dig into the grains here to get them loose so I can dump them into the bag along with the substrate. Alright, with the grain spawn into the bag, we're going to go ahead and seal the bag up. So I'm using an impulse sealer. Alright, if you don't have an impulse sealer, you can use a zip tie to kind of seal up your bags. So what I like doing is I'll double press on the impulse sealers just to make sure that it's really sealed in there, and I'll do a second one just in case. You really want to make sure that your bag is completely sealed, because the next part is pretty important. Because we're going to be breaking apart the grain spawn, and we're going to give the whole bag a shake to mix the grain spawn into the substrate. And if your bag is not fully sealed, you're going to have stuff kind of flying around everywhere as you're doing this little shake here. So I've had that happen to me before in the past, so I'll just learn from my mistake and try not to make it as well. So with the bags fully sealed and everything is mixed, I'm going to go ahead and label our bag here so we know exactly what we're spawning, and then these will go on the shelf to get colonized for next week or 2. Alright, here it is 2 weeks later, and we have ourselves a fully colonized fruiting block. Now, notice here I started to grow some mycelium towards the top, and seems like these guys want to try and fruit from the top where they're getting fresh air from. So I don't want that. I want them to fruit from the side. So what I'm going to do is cut some slits into the bag. That way they have some points to form pins at and kind of grow out from the side. And then what I like to do is fold down the top portion of the bag flap to kind of prevent the mycelium from trying to fruit towards the top. Right, so with a scalpel, I'm going to make a simple X-shaped cut into the bag. You want to go too deep, it's just enough to just kind of pierce the plastic, and then just make sure that it's opened, and then it'll be ready. With the fruiting blocks, I'm going to go ahead and start putting them into my fruiting tent. Now, this tent's a little 2x4 system that I have, and I maintain a 95% humidity inside of the tent, and there's also an intake fan providing fresh air exchange on a cycle timer. So we'll let these go until they start fruiting, and here we are. Now, this is about 12 days after I put them into the tent, and I couldn't be more happier. It was a success. So as I grow these out, I found out from one of my mycologist buddy that these are not bear's head, but they're actually lion's mane. So the two are very closely related, and they look very similar to each other. So it could be very easy to kind of mistake them from each other. Now this last bag here has got a big cluster growing out from one side, and what I'm going to do here is flip the fruiting block over. Now it gives it more space to kind of fruit. And these fruits aren't quite ready to harvest yet, they're still pretty young, so I'll leave these out to grow for another few days. So from the last clip, this is 5 days later, and this is when I feel the fruits are ready to harvest. One of the key ways you can tell between lion's mane and bear's head is that bear's heads will form branching fruit bodies, whereas lion's mane tends to be in puffy little clusters. So whether it's bear's head or lion's mane, the process of growing hericium will be the exact same. So when you know the lion's mane's mature is when they start turning a little bit yellow on the fruit bodies. These mushrooms, their texture kind of resembles crab meat, so one of my favorite dishes to make with them is crab cakes. You can add them into any crab cake recipe, or just replace the crab meat version of them with some shredded up lion's mane that's been cooked and drained. So that's it for this grow series. I hope you guys learned something or got some value out of this. Maybe I inspired you to grow your own lion's mane. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.